Hello, Warwick, and welcome to another edition of School Talk. Hi, everybody, I'm Nick DeLeo, and rather than coming to you from inside the television studio, today we're outside on a beautiful fall day in the courtyard of the high school. The new school has brought with it a lot of new faces, a lot of new teachers, but today, two people in particular have really stood out so far. So joining us for this edition of School Talk are our two new assistant principals, and I want to welcome to the show Mr. Chris Fiorentino and Mrs. Erin Hill-Lewis. Hi, you guys.
How you doing?
Welcome to your first edition of School Talk.
Great to be here.
It's pretty fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our video kids do a great job, and Mr. Ciccone. So let's get into the interview a little bit. My first question is, we didn't meet you guys until we got here in September, the faculty. So Erin, I'll start with you. Where did you work before coming to Warwick?
So before coming to Warwick, I worked in New York City.
Oh, where?
In Manhattan.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone's familiar with the area, but kind of near Columbus Circles, like Midtown Manhattan.
I do, in the 50s and
Yes,
60s.
in the 50s, high 50s.
High 50s? Oh, we have to talk about something afterwards. Good. Chris, where did you come from?
So I was a teacher at Walk Hill before coming here, and then
Walk over in Ulster County?
yeah, between Newburgh and New Paltz, and then an AP in Hyde Park, and then a principal at Highland Falls, and then a director of math in Newburgh.
Excellent. And how long were you at each of those?
So 20 years altogether.
Great.
Anywhere from 4 to 7 years, depending on the role.
Okay. So then, Erin, let me go back to you. That was my next question. How many years have you been in education in total?
So I was in, if we count like official education, for
everything.
So I spent a lot of time like doing more assistant teaching type of things for probably like 4 years, and then when I got into actual teaching, that was around 6 years.
Excellent. All right, so I got that. Each vice principal comes to our school, every school, with years of teaching a specific content, and I always love to hear what you taught. And Erin, what was your specific content when you were teaching?
Yeah, so pretty much anything math, high school math, so all the way from Algebra 1, SAT prep, geometry, calculus, computer science, kind of all of that stuff.
So you have a big math background. Good. Chris, what about you?
Math too. So I did middle school math for a little bit, and then some high school math.
Okay.
Loved middle school math and enjoyed high school math as well, but middle school it's so connected to like the real world.
Okay.
With percents and things that, so it was a fun experience. And Algebra 1, geometry were the high school courses I taught.
Erin, what do you think? Did you enjoy teaching more on a middle school level or the high school?
So I never taught middle school, but I think my favorite math was calculus, just because I personally, I know.
God bless you.
I think it's personally because I like a challenge, and I thought that was one of the more challenging math classes that I had to take.
Excellent. Good. Let's go to something else. If you ask any teacher, they're going to give you a story. I want to ask another question in a minute, but what brought you both into education? Erin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so for me, when I was in college, I just was a math major, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my degree. I just knew that I liked math and kind of wanted to dive a little deeper into the field. And then while I was a student on campus, I tutored other college students in calculus, which led to me working in the middle school and the high school, kind of like helping teachers, running some after-school programs. And I think through doing that, I realized that education was a field in which I would never be bored. Like I had friends that were in their fields for the money or whatever it was, but I just knew that there would never be a dull day, so I chose education.
I agree with that. I like that outlook on it. I think the same thing. I don't think any 2 days here are the same. I mean, here at Warwick, we have the rotating schedule, so that changes, but every day brings its own great stuff, not so great stuff, and all that. Chris, same question to you.
So I like going second, by the way. I got a chance to process
Except you're first next time.
So I have a little story. So essentially, I got into education because I'm a little bit of a dork. I like to make a difference. I like to learn from other people, and I like to help other people grow. So when I was a teenager, I was a camp counselor.
Okay.
And we had a talent show at the end of the year. And I had 6-year-olds, right?
Yep.
And I taught them a dance routine to Bell Biv DeVoe Poison. Right? I don't know if you know that song, right?
I do.
Can you sing with me? No?
No, I'm not going to sing it with you.
She's driving me out of my... No? Okay. So we taught them that routine. I taught them routine. It took forever for 6-year-olds because they forget something the next day, right? And then, so at the end, they did the presentation. And this was before cell phones and things like that. And the parents had brought in a camcorder, right? And recorded the whole thing. And I thought to myself, how awesome is that? They're going to have this forever. And they're going to remember this moment.
Correct.
And I know it sounds a little lame, but that was kind of, that was like, I want to get into this. And I want to have this kind of like impact where they can look back and see things and just make a difference.
We just had this conversation in my senior project class about choosing your profession, because right now we're taping in October, and our seniors are making that first initial choice. Just a curiosity, I come to education as a second profession. Did you guys start education from right out? I was in corporate world, and then I came here. What'd you guys do?
For me, it was my first profession.
You too?
Yeah, right out of college.
22 started.
Excellent. Good. Let's go to, while we're on this subject, and we'll do some other stuff, but looking back, I often tell the story of one of my students who was sucking on a pen and it exploded in her mouth. And she was fine, it was great, but it's just a memory that I always have. Give me a story from your time in a classroom that just is gonna stick with you forever. Something fun, quirky, you got one?
You have one on deck.
All right, so this was my first year teaching, and I was co-teaching with a female teacher, and we were both like 22, and it was nice actually starting in middle school because you're teaching 12-year-olds as opposed to being 22 teaching 18-year-olds,
Correct.
right? So I go up there, I'm doing the whole lesson, everything, right? And all of a sudden the student raises his hand and I go, Kevin, what's up? And he goes, I'm like, okay. So I come over and he whispers to me, he goes, Mr. Fiorentino, and it's like 20 minutes into the lesson, like, Mr. Fiorentino, your fly's open. So it's like, all right, bud, thanks. He goes, and then at the end I go, listen, I appreciate you. That was very mature for a 12-year-old to pull me to the side. He goes, I don't want to embarrass you in front of the female teacher.
That's awesome.
I was like, thanks, dude.
Out of the mouth of babes, as the old saying goes, right?
Right.
Erin, how about you? Do you have a memory from a class?
Oh man, I'm still kind of thinking. When I taught ninth graders, which I feel like kind of bleeds out
Very
of
similar,
the middle school. Am I going to be able to think of one?
Well, I put you on. I'll give you a couple more minutes. You come up with one. Okay. That's the beauty of education. You come away with so many.
Yeah.
I think I really do. Good. For me, because most people know I am a Valley Central graduate. The favorite teachers I had over there were always in the English department, and I can name a few. Looking back, tell me an influential teacher and why he or she impacted your life. Give some credit where credit's due this morning.
Yeah. So I actually went to high school in Chester.
Our Chester?
Yeah,
Oh,
Chester,
okay. I didn't know that.
right up the road. So an influential teacher that I had when I was there, I would say there are two, but it was my Spanish teacher.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that I was very confident when in that class in the beginning because it's a new language, but just by being in that class, that teacher really built up my confidence and got me to start tutoring middle school students in Spanish while I was in high school. And I think just having that teacher who kind of supports you and just gives you that confidence was something that I always carried with me. And he was very, he cared about us a lot. So one story that I do remember is it was our prom night, and he said to us, he wrote his phone number on the board and was like, if anyone needs anything tonight, you know, just don't think about it, call, don't ask, don't tell, I'll come and get anyone if they need anything. So just that caring teacher, yeah, it was something that always stood out to me.
Good. Chris, how about you? Who influenced you?
Yeah, so I was blessed with some great teachers, but I really had some awesome math teachers kind of throughout. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I ended up becoming a math teacher. You know, Ms. Veltri, who was my middle school teacher, probably sticks out the most. So I actually graduated from Walk Hill, and then I went back. You know, in the early 2000s, they were begging for math teachers.
Sure.
I went back, and it was so amazing to see somebody that genuinely walked the talk. So not only was she a great teacher and wanted to help, she met with me every week, and we planned together. And because I came right out of, I was a math major, and I did, it's called Transition B. So I never student taught, I didn't do anything like that. I just went right from being a math major right into teaching.
Right into the room, into the
So
classroom.
she was like, I'm gonna help, you know, met with me every week, planned with me. Like, it was just an amazing experience. At the same time, was able to have fun too. I remember my second year was actually her last year where she retired. And in the back of the room, she had done the math for how many days she had left to retire and how many days I had left to retire. So it was like 5, and
Did it
then
make you cry?
2,384. You know, like it was. I'm like, oh, thanks for that reminder.
That's great. So is it all three of us, did I hear right, Chester, Wallkill?
Yep.
3 local people. I
Yeah.
like that a whole lot. Each school district has its own set of initiatives. You know, right here at Warwick, we're super proud of Portrait of a Graduate. Are there any initiatives at any of the schools you've been to, worked in, that just kind of stuck out at your school and maybe could be implemented here one day?
So I think.
Or anything, you know, something you'd like to see done in Warwick?
Yeah. So there's amazing things that are happening here already. I think as a new person, right, you do a lot of listening and learning, and when you talk about initiatives, those are things that hopefully happen organically, right? Through like, oh, you know, this is what comes up, or we have this portrait of a graduate, and this fits in there. You know, you know, I've done initiatives at other places, but I think that it really comes through that like organic kind of like, oh, this is a need, and you know, it comes from the teachers mentioning it, and then an idea comes, and then it's like, how does that work? And then we kind of work together. So I would say, like, I can't think of anything really specific to say like, this is what I did previously, and we want to bring it here. But you know, I will say this, like I'm always interested in wanting to know how can we do it better. I love the word better.
Me too, I agree. Excellent. Erin, what about you? Is there anything that sticks out?
Yeah, kind of like Chris was saying, nothing in particular that I can think of, but because the Portrait of a Graduate does prepare students for the future, I think that finding ways, like computer science is the future.
Huge.
And I think that finding ways for students to get that exposure in not just their computer science classes if they elect to take those, but finding a way to feed that into other courses, I think is really important.
Great. Final questions. Here we go. Ready? Quickly. If you were not a teacher, not an educator, what would you do? What would be another field you would work in? Is there one?
I have 2, right? All right. So growing up, one of my favorite things to do, and I could see myself doing this in retirement, I worked at Arby's and I was the sandwich builder. And I loved being in the back, and there's something satisfying in making a good sandwich.
I worked at a deli for years.
I love making a good sandwich. It's awesome.
I get you.
Little mayo on one side, mustard on the other, right?
Gotcha.
But I would say either that, or I'd love to be a relief pitcher for the New York Mets.
Good. Erin. Dream big.
Oh man, I don't think my dream is
Sandwich building?
the only thing that came to my mind is that I like playing music. So I would just a job where I can just play music all day.
What's your instrument?
Well, I mean,
You
I
need
have
to
a
learn
few.
one?
I have a few, but the one that I spend the most time with right now is piano.
Excellent. Good. Everybody knows if I weren't here, I would direct on Broadway. So someday, we'll see. Someday.
Nice.
I'm going to just point to the camera and say that. All right. The kids always, the video production team always puts together one fun question. So they want to know this. What do you do for fun outside of Warwick Valley High School?
So for me, I spoke about piano. So I played piano a little bit as a kid and kind of tried to stick with it throughout the years, but maybe like a year ago I started taking piano lessons.
Good.
So I've been getting back into it. I also just recently joined a choir.
Yay.
So that's been a lot of fun. And then when I'm not doing those things, I also like to work out. And I actually went to the CrossFit gym nearby, but I had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to go to those classes. So that lasted about a month.
I was going to say, there's that, isn't there?
So now I just work out in the gym that I have in my basement.
Good. Excellent. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I love working out also. Similar, right? So, but I have a 4, 6, and an 8-year-old at home. So my thing is very involved with them. So for fun, we've done monster trucks.
Okay.
Which is awesome. I don't know if you've ever been, Mr.
I
DeLeo.
have not. I've seen the commercial.
You got to go at least once.
Okay.
It's fun, Aaron. So monster trucks, we've done camping, just a lot of time.
Spartan races.
Spartan races, yeah.
Spartan races.
So the kids have done the Spartan race. I haven't yet. The kids and my wife have done it. I'm leaning towards it in the spring, but I don't want to be out of commission for too long. But Aaron's done several Spartan races.
I've done it.
All right. We're going to let Coach Sirico know this. And the music department's going to hear about this as soon as we're done.
Coach Sirico is going to do the polar plunge with us in a couple of months. So he will be diving in.
I know, Greg. I'm not so sure about that. All right. I want to thank Chris Fiorentino and Erin Hill-Lewis for joining us for this edition of School Talk. And don't forget, stay tuned for more WVT content. And don't forget, follow us on Instagram. We are WV Television, and they're always putting up new content. I follow them. They're great, so make sure you follow them. That's all we have for this edition of School Talk. I want to thank everybody once again, and we'll see you next time. And as always, Warwick, take care of yourself. See you soon.